You want to speak about Mercato? We will speak about Mercato. Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. When I tell you that we'll speak about Mercato, well, nearly all the video will be about Mercato for a simple reason. Yesterday, agents of a player were in La Continassa to meet the management of Juventus. Not the management, that are taking care of the fine. No. Mercato management. We are speaking about Giuntoli, we are speaking about Manna. Who are the agents and who is the player that we are speaking about? Fabian Ruiz. Because when we are opening Tutto Sport, of course, 60% of the page is dedicated to Yannick Sinner that is doing fantastically well. He's the biggest proud of the Italian sport lovers at the moment because he's doing history in tennis. But what is interesting for us, Juventini, is below that page with Fabian Ruiz, Blitz a Casa Juve, the agents of the Spanish player were in La Continassa yesterday to meet the management of Mercato of Juventus. And we'll speak about that one plus the other names, Sancho, etc., that are linked to Juve. But before that, don't forget, maximum of like. Don't forget also to subscribe to the channel. And you know it, I'm counting on you every single like. I am grateful for because it's supporting the channel more than you think. So do it now so that we can now focus on Mercato. I told you about Fabian Ruiz, but before going in detail to understand if he is, yes or no, the ideal player to have in January, I wanted to check a bit what were the conditions to have that player. Why we are going towards that name of Fabian Ruiz at the moment on the 17th of November. Well, I was thinking about the last name that we mentioned in the last few weeks. We spoke about Phillips, Højbjerg, about De Paul, about Fabian Ruiz, about Sperzian a few days ago, but also Samardzic. 6 players, and I'm not even mentioning all the other ones that we mentioned the last few days. And I tried to understand what is the link. Well, 4 of the 6, and we are speaking about Kalvin, Phillips, Højbjerg, De Paul, and Fabian Ruiz, are players that at the moment are not having a lot of continuity with their club. You know the individual situation of all these players. And my biggest first question when I'm analyzing and recording that video is it Juventus that is contacting these agents for information about the players, the clubs to understand if a loan is possible, if we can sign the players, or is it a bit the reverse situation? The agents that are aware that Juventus is looking for a midfielder in January because of the situation of Pogba, because of the situation of Fagioli, because at the moment there are some injuries like Locatelli, Miretti, even if they will be back before January. That's a fact. Well, my notifications in my head are telling me, Beppe, attenzione, don't get too excited because probably it's the reverse. It's the agents that are going towards them saying, you know what, you're needing a midfielder. Our player is not 100% satisfied in the club that they are playing at the moment because they want to play big competition, especially in the summer, except of De Paul. We are speaking about European players that want to play in Euro 2024. Do you have interest in our players? We can even, if you are interested, speak with the club to go for a loan where you don't have to put a lot of cash immediately on the table, and we can have a player for 6 months with an option to buy for the continuity if he's doing well or not. That's more the situation that I am thinking at the moment. Of course, there is also Sperzian, there is also Samardzic. There we are speaking about total different situations because we are speaking about younger players that are playing probably in different roles, like Sperzian is more an offensive midfielder, players for the future, but probably not the players that we are looking immediately to reinforce the team of Allegri, that we know it. If he needs to go for a player for 6 months, he's probably looking for some experience. Now, speaking about Fabian Ruiz, again, Let put it aside that it's the agents that are going looking for Juve or Juve that are looking for the agents and doing a meeting for Fabian Ruiz. Is he the ideal player for Juventus? Well, at the moment, the 27-year-old player from Paris Saint-Germain is not finding continuity with Paris Saint-Germain. I already told you, Vitinha, Ugarte, Zaire Emery are the starters, and they are much younger than him, so it's not that one will retire at the end of the season. They are just launching their career, so it's difficult for the ex-Napoli player, the player from the Partenopeo, to find continuity, and he's not 100% happy about that. He didn't even start a game in Champions League. 5 times only he started games in Liga. It's a good player, really, it's a fantastic player. He has that dribble, that short space dribble. He has that vision. He has that beautiful pass. The thing that I don't like that much with Fabian Ruiz, it's a player that is, first of all, left foot. Yes, it's true, he's able to play on the right side of a midfield also, but if you go towards his career, he played more on the left than on the right, and we know that on the left we have already an Adrien Rabiot. So it's again an adaptation from a player from the left to the right, playing with inverted foot. Can he play there? He already showed it. Yes. The second thing, it's that the player that, if we are looking really at his characteristic, even if he's really strong in a lot of things, for example, it's a tall player, nearly 190, and he's really a modern midfielder, he's a player that is not giving velocity to the game. He's a player that is actually doing your game a bit slower. Is this what we need in a Juventus that is already really slow, especially in the midfield? I don't think so. But on the other side, it's an experienced player that is played at Napoli and he knows the language, he knows Serie A, he plays at Paris Saint-Germain, he already played Champions League, he played with the Spanish national team. So a lot of things that are going towards, yes, he's a good player, yes, he could give something to Juventus. Is he the ideal situation? I am not sure. If we are speaking about the other ones like Højbjerg, I told you that's absolutely not my favorite player. Phillips is still there on top of my list. If we look for a player for 6 months, I prefer Kalvin Phillips. But sincerely, a player that could potentially move Locatelli on the right side as a mezzala with Rabiot on the left, and Kalvin Phillips, the player that is that pitbull in the middle of the field. Now, I was thinking maybe the agents of Fabian Ruiz were there in La Continassa to speak about other players that we don't know at the moment. So I went to the players that are in that agency. Fabian Ruiz is the most valuable player that they have in their agency. Then they have Christoph Baumgartner, the player from Leipzig, Red Bull Leipzig or Salzburg, I don't know. That is actually 24, difficult for him to leave Juve. Then I went a bit to the players. They also have Luis Alberto. I don't believe that Luis Alberto will be someone that will move from Lazio to Juve in January. And then they have Milos Kerkez, left back, that is now, since this season, at Bournemouth. Is that a player that will join Juventus in January? I am not sure, even if we still are open for the possibility that Juventus is looking for players to change formation in January, going towards that 4-3-3 that a lot of us are asking for. But is Kerkez the player that we want to invest in January after 6 months of Bournemouth? I don't believe so. So there I didn't find really something concrete to speak about. If we speak about the other players that we don't mention, because we mentioned Phillips, we mentioned Højbjerg, we mentioned now Fabian Ruiz, but we didn't speak about De Paul and Samardzic. What is the situation about the two players? Let's say that yesterday I watched the first half of Argentina-Uruguay. Argentina in the first half that were really dominating Uruguay, even if at the end Uruguay scored at 1-0. I fell asleep. I didn't watch the second half where there were again some fights, also with De Paul, etc., etc. De Paul is reminding me a bit of that character of the Argentinian player, of the Paredes, always looking if there is some fight to go for, if there is the possibility to make sure that the team is a bit nervous, he will be the first in line. But I have to admit that that first half of the ball was not really bad, always doing the right movement, always there to control the ball, beautiful first control. Also these passes that he was able to do were not bad. So is he a bad player? Absolutely not. In terms of behavior, reminding me a bit too much of that Paredes. Now, De Paul could go to Juve. Why? For a simple reason. Yesterday I watched Juventus. It was Luca Monblano that said there is an offer for Dusan Vlahovic. That offer is coming from Atletico Madrid. And who are the two players that are playing at Atletico Madrid that Juventus is always taking an eye off? De Paul, we already just mentioned it because he's the 12th man in terms of minutes at Atletico of Simeone, but also Morata. Morata that is doing fantastically well at the moment with the Colchoneros. Well, Morata and De Paul. I'm asking you, I'm not giving my opinion today. I want to wait a bit before giving my opinion. But the big question is, would you do a swap Morata-De Paul package to Juve for Dusan Vlahovic to Atletico Madrid without money? Yes or no? Would you do it only with Morata plus cash? Would you do it with only the Paul plus cash? I'm really curious to see what your opinion is about that. Why am I not giving my opinion? Because I don't want to influence you too much, but I will reveal it in a few days. The other player that Juventus is still monitoring is Samardzic. Not that much for January, because it will be quite difficult to go in negotiation with Udinese, but it's true that Dusan Vlahovic and Filip Kostic are at the moment in the national team with the number 8 of Serbia, Samardzic, and maybe, who knows, they can already start, speaking well about the other Bianconeri. Speaking about Juventus, there is already a kind of agreement in salary with Juve if he would move there, so Samardzic is more a player for the summer more than for the winter. There is another name that I wanted to talk about, and Fabrizio Romano is actually confirming what I was saying. It is Jadon Sancho. Apparently Juventus is really interested in the player. They really would love to go for him. Again, I still don't understand in what kind of position in a 3-5-2, but they are still looking for that player. On the other side, yesterday he confirmed that at the moment, because of financial problems, not because of fair play, because that's another story, but because of financially difficult situation of Juve, it's impossible for Juve to go for players for 50, 60, 70 million euro, so they would try to go for a loan. The salary of Jadon Sancho is super high, so Juventus is even asking that Manchester United is able to play at least 50% of that salary, so really, really, really difficult. Interest, yes. For what reason, I still don't figure out why. But I think that Jadon Sanchez, well, if he will come, Jadon Sancho, not Sanchez. If he will come, great, fantastic, beautiful player. But I don't really believe in it, and Fabrizio Romano was confirming it. On the other side, Romano was confirming something else that Juventini were speaking about, and that we spoke about yesterday in the video, that Bremer is about to renew his contract with Juventus until 2028, so one more year. Important for Juve, like for Locatelli, for example, spreading the total cost of a player per year, so can be really smart. Bremer that was able to make sure that the Juventini forgot about Matthijs de Ligt, and is at the moment doing really, really well. After a difficult start of the season, Bremer is someone that we can count on. Today will be the day of Golden Boy, the Golden Boy award that is organized by Tuttosport, that is actually rewarding the best youth players. Today will be the biggest youth player that will be revealed, but also other one, like the best Italian one, the best agent, the best this, the best that, the best that. It's actually the Ballon d'Or for the youth. And it's something that we are doing since so many years. Messi won it, Pogba won it, Gavi won it, etc., etc., etc. Today they will be revealed. And then on the 4th of December, there will be the official ceremony. I'm really thrilled about that one. And I'm sure, if I'm not wrong, that you will be able to, I'm sure, you will be able to follow it live on Tuttosport site when they will go live. Gazzetta dello Sport is speaking about Juve-Inter, of course, like they are doing now since a few weeks. Juve-Inter da rifare. They have to do it again. Not the game that will be played again, because we didn't even play it, but the lineups, because it's true that at the moment with Miretti that went back from the national team of under 21 because of lombalgia, with Locatelli out, with Danilo out, we already spoke about all the situation of J Medical yesterday. Well, there are a lot of things that has to be redone, not only from Juve side, I tell you, but also from Inter, because they are losing Bastoni after losing Pavard, so the defense has to be rewarded from Inter. Not that they have not many choices, because they have choices, but now they will have probably to play with Darmian as a fixed defender instead of on the right side. On the other side, Juventus is thinking about who to play instead of Locatelli, because he's still suffering a lot. It could be Rabiot, as we mentioned already yesterday, so probably someone from Gazzetta dello Sport was watching the video. But it could be potentially another problem for Juve, and this time we are speaking about the strikers, because this evening Italia will play against North Macedonia. From 5 players that has been called up with the Italian national team from Juve, Locatelli went already home. There will be Moiskin that will not even be in the starting 11, not even on the bench. He will be in the stands. Why? Because this week, while training with the team of Spalletti, he was not able to give 100%. Not always he was taking part of all the training session, because he's suffering a bit of physical problems. Not something alarming, but still something to monitor. So hopefully we can have him for the game of Inter at full potential. Otherwise it will be a problem. 2 players will be able to play today. From Juve, Gatti and Federico Chiesa with the Azzurri. Chiesa that is apparently now in big form, ready to play. Federico Gatti, the third time that he will play with Italy because of a lot of players that were injured. He will have a starting spot next to Acerbi in a 4-man defense, and I'm always also curious to see how he will play in that 4-man defense. Super curious. Anyway, Corriere dello Sport is saying niente scherzi, no jokes to Italy, because today they have to win against North Macedonia to have hopes to then qualify to Euro 2024. That was it for me for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I told you a lot of Mercato. Let me know who's your preferred midfielder. Of course, realistic. Don't tell me, I don't know which, don't tell me Bellingham, for example, because we know that that will not be possible. Grazie, forza, Juve.